The entire hall fell silent when her father laughed and said, "Take the pretty one." It was the kind of laugh that did not carry warmth, only calculation. Candles flickered against gold-plated walls, crystal chandeliers trembled with the faintest movement of air, and beneath all the luxury stood two sisters, one glowing beneath admiration, the other shrinking beneath it. In that moment, before the Duke could even respond, a lifetime of rejection tightened around the younger girl's heart like a vice. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in choosing character over appearance, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps these stories alive. The Harrington estate had always been a place of polished smiles and silent hierarchies. Lord Benjamin Harrington valued reputation more than affection, wealth more than warmth. His eldest daughter, Isabella Harrington, was his pride, golden-haired, blue-eyed, graceful in every movement. She was the kind of beauty that silenced rooms and invited envy in equal measure. Since childhood, she had been groomed for admiration, dressed in silks, taught to charm, trained to move like royalty long before royalty ever noticed her. Standing half a step behind her was Eliza Harrington, born 2 years later but treated as though she had arrived too late to matter. Eliza's features were softer, less striking by society's standards. Her hair was a deeper brown, her frame more fragile, her smile hesitant. From the time she could understand words, she understood comparison. Servants praised Isabella's beauty openly while glancing at Eliza with polite indifference. Their father never meant to be cruel in his own mind, he believed he was being practical. Beauty secured alliances. Beauty opened doors. Beauty guaranteed security. And tonight, security had arrived in the form of Duke Alexander Whitmore. Alexander was not only wealthy, he was powerful. His land stretched beyond what the eye could see, and his name carried influence in parliament and palace alike. But he was also known for something else, he was selective. He had refused countless proposals, uninterested in shallow admiration. When he announced his intention to marry, noble families across the region competed for his attention. Lord Harrington had waited years for such an opportunity. The ballroom glittered with expectation as the Duke entered. Conversations dimmed into whispers. Isabella stood taller, chin lifted, smile perfected. Eliza kept her gaze lowered, already bracing herself for invisibility. Then Lord Harrington stepped forward with theatrical pride and gestured toward his daughters. He spoke loudly enough for half the room to hear. He told the Duke to take the pretty one. A murmur rippled through the guests. Isabella flushed with pleased embarrassment. Eliza felt her stomach drop. She had heard variations of that sentence her entire life, but never so publicly, never so deliberately. The Duke did not laugh. Instead, he studied both sisters with a calm intensity that unsettled everyone watching. His gaze lingered not on the shimmer of Isabella's gown but on the way Eliza's hands trembled at her sides. He noticed how she avoided meeting anyone's eyes, how she seemed to fold inward as though apologizing for existing. That was when something shifted. For Alexander Whitmore knew what it meant to be chosen for the wrong reasons. He had inherited his title at 21 after losing both parents within a year. Since then, he had endured endless flattery, false affection, and proposals disguised as love. He had grown tired of being admired but never understood. And in Eliza's downcast eyes, he saw not calculation, but quiet resilience. The announcement that followed stunned the room. The Duke expressed gratitude for Lord Harrington's hospitality, then calmly stated that if he were to seek a bride among the Harrington daughters, it would be the younger one. The silence was suffocating. Isabella's smile froze. Lord Harrington's face drained of color. Eliza's heart slammed against her ribs so violently she thought she might faint. For the first time in her life, she was not overlooked. She was chosen. But being chosen did not immediately bring relief. Whispers turned sharp. Guests speculated that the Duke must be playing some strategic game. Some pitied him. Others pitied her. Lord Harrington forced a stiff smile, but that night, behind closed doors, he confronted Eliza with cold disbelief. He demanded to know what she had done to manipulate the Duke. He warned her not to embarrass the family. Eliza had done nothing. And that frightened him most. The engagement was announced within a week. Society reacted with curiosity masked as courtesy. Invitations arrived with hidden judgments. Isabella withdrew into a storm of wounded pride. For years she had been prepared to secure such a marriage, and now her younger sister, the rejected one, had taken her place without trying. Eliza faced a new kind of challenge. She was no longer invisible, but visibility came with scrutiny. Every misstep was magnified. Every hesitation interpreted as inadequacy. She overheard women whisper that the Duke must have chosen her out of pity. The doubt seeped into her bones. Alexander, however, did not treat her as an ornament. During their private meetings, he asked about her interests, her thoughts, her dreams. At first, she struggled to answer. No one had ever asked before. Slowly, cautiously, she began to speak. She spoke of her love for literature, of her quiet visits to the village where she secretly delivered food to struggling families, of her belief that nobility meant service, not display. He listened. The more he learned, the more certain he became. Yet Eliza's greatest battle was not society, it was herself. Years of comparison had carved deep insecurities. On the day of their wedding, as she stood before the mirror in a gown more magnificent than anything she had ever worn, she could still hear her father's voice telling the Duke to take the pretty one. She wondered if Alexander would regret his choice once the novelty faded. Marriage, however, revealed something unexpected. The Duchess's role was not simply ceremonial. Alexander entrusted her with managing charitable initiatives across his estates. He introduced her not as his wife alone but as his partner. Under her quiet leadership, orphanages were funded, village schools restored, and fair wages implemented for workers long neglected. The people adored her, not because she dazzled them, but because she saw them. Months turned into a year. The whispers faded. Even Isabella, who had initially distanced herself, began to notice that admiration built on kindness lasted longer than admiration built on beauty. Slowly, painfully, the sisters began to repair what comparison had broken. Lord Harrington, once so certain of his judgment, attended a public ceremony where villagers praised the Duchess for transforming their lives. He watched as his lesser daughter stood beside the Duke with calm strength and genuine affection reflected in his eyes. For the first time, he felt something unfamiliar, regret. Eliza never confronted him. She did not need to. Her life spoke louder than resentment ever could. Years later, when she walked through the grand halls of Whitmore Castle holding her young son's hand, she no longer heard echoes of rejection. She had discovered something profound. Being overlooked had forced her to build an inner world rich with empathy and resilience. What society dismissed had become her greatest strength. Alexander had not chosen the rejected sister. He had chosen the woman no one bothered to truly see. And in doing so, he had altered not only her destiny, but his own. Before this story ends, take a moment to comment the word "chosen" if you believe that true worth is never defined by appearance. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness and character outshine beauty every time, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe for more emotional journeys like this. Your engagement helps these stories reach those who feel unseen. Because sometimes the one the world rejects is the very one destined to change it.